everyone. My name is Prashant. I'm working as a MuleSoft architect. So in this today's session, we are going to understand the project structure of Dataweave library, and we are going to start by creating a sample Dataweave project. And let's try to understand what all files and what all folders are basically created under that project. Okay. So before starting, make sure you have this Dataweave 2.0 plugin installed on your VS Code. So as soon as you have installed that, follow this process. Go to View, Command Palette. You can type Dataweave, and you should be able to see mainly 5 different options. So in the upcoming, versions of Dataweave plugin, you might see multiple options, but for now it's 5 different options we have, and we are going to understand all of these options in depth in the at the end of this session, as well as in the upcoming sessions. But for now, let's go ahead and start with the first option, that is create new library project. So it will ask you for some project details. So let me add some details, something like freelancer dot dwlib project. Okay, then the artifact ID, I'll make it as dwlib snapshot. I'll remove the snapshot version. The project name, I'll make it as this thing, and I'll select some location on my system. Okay, so as soon as you do it, it will ask you if you want to create this in a new window, open this in new window. So go ahead and open this. All right, so as soon as you open this in a new window, you should be able to see the window similar to what I'm showing on you on this screen for now. And on the left hand side, you should be able to see the DW library project folder created. Okay, so under this we have 3 different folders: SRC, where all our files and all our resourcing materials will be available. The target folder is basically all our build artifacts which Maven has built for our project, right? Everything will be available in this target folder, and POM file will basically handle all our project artifacts and dependencies, and apart from that, many more things as well. Okay, so these are basically the 3 important things, which is basically similar to what we are currently having for our API development in Anypoint Studio. So you can relate that with that Anypoint Studio. Okay, so under SRC, we have 2 different subfolders, main and test. Then under main, we have 2 different more, DW and resources. And under DW, there is one sample file which is created for us. So this is that sample function which is created under this module file. So it is a simple function which has the name as hello world. Okay, and it is basically printing a message like hello, and the value for that key is world. So this is basically an object which is basically it's printing an object message. Okay. So ultimately all our module files should be available under SRC main DW. Now coming to the resources, we don't find any files available in the resources as of now. So but ultimately resources are basically it should be all the files which are a kind of supporting files, we can say, or supporting materials which are needed for your function or which are needed for your module file to work. Everything will lie under this resources folder. Okay, now coming to the SRC test. So test as well, we have DW and resources, and under DW we have a mapping file which is auto created for us. So this is the file which is going to which is basically testing your function, and that function which the created, it's hello world, and we are basically calling that hello world from this particular file. And this mapping file is basically it is exactly the same as the Dataweave script which we usually use for our API project development. Okay, so where we can call multiple functions and we can use that functions to solve our particular use case. So similarly, if you are using like map function, map object, filter, nesting by, and all these functions, right? So these all functions have are written in some module files. Okay, and these functions are basically, we are just using that functions for our use case. Okay, so this is the script file which will be which is basically which is also auto created for us, okay, for to test our function. Okay, and similarly, all the resourcing materials needed for this function to work should lie under this resources folder. So for now, it's just a simple hello world, but for in the upcoming sessions, we are going to create some, quite a good functions, and that time these all concepts will be pretty much clear to everyone. Okay. All right, so this is for SRC. Now coming to target, so target is exactly the same. We all the build classes, test classes will lie under this target folder. So we have not ran any maven command for now, so we are not able to see the jar file as of now in this target folder. But as soon as you do it, I should be able to see that soon. And this we are going to see that in the upcoming session. And in the POM file is also exactly the same. So POM file, it has its project related details which will be identified. The group ID, artifact ID, version, packaging, and name. So here, if you see packaging, we have a DW library, and when we are creating the Mule project, it is having a Mule application. So make sure you are using this package. Okay. Then there are some dynamic properties which are added under this properties section. Along with that, we also have some dependencies section where all the dependencies needed for this project to work during the compile, during the provided, during the test, during the deployment and all those kind of scopes. So all these things will lie under this dependency section. And apart from dependencies, we have build path, build tag. So build tag will basically identify where all the script file we need to identify, and we need to check to during the build process. So all these files will be taken care. So everything will lie under this build folder. Apart from that, as soon as our DW library file is created, we need to we need to publish that to the Anypoint Exchange, and for that reason, this distribution management will, help us. So this is that section which has the repository where our, our this Dataweave library files will be published. Okay. Apart from that, we also have some repository sections where if any dependencies are needed for this DW library project, so all these dependencies should be there in some repositories. So all those repositories are basically mentioned here under this repository stack. Okay. Apart from repository, there are some plugins, that is Datawave plugin, as well as Maven plugin, or Munich plugin for Datawave testing framework. So all these plugins are basically available under this plugin repositories, which are mentioned under this plugin repository section. Okay, so this is all about the sample POM file, which is auto created, and of course you can edit this POM basically according to your need. Okay, now let's go ahead and deep dive into each of these files. So this is the my module file. So let's see what all functions, what all options we have in this file. So currently we have 3 options: create integration mapping, generate Datawave documentation, add unit test. So as soon as you click the generate Datawave documentation, it will basically create a documentation template for you, and you just need to update the related details in this. So for example, here you can mention what is the purpose of the hello world hello world function. So maybe I can write something like hello world is printing message in object format. Okay, now if you see, it has provided a inline the what I would say, the inline checks for you, right? So you can just use those. You can just use the tab, and that will be auto completed for you. Okay, so this is also a useful feature of VS Code, and this is how basically you can add the details in this template documentation. So here you can add the script which the new developer will use for this function, and what kind of output it will generate. So all those kind of things you can add this in your template, and you can also edit this template according to your need, and it will then be published into the Anypoint Exchange with a proper documentation structure. Okay, so this is the first option. The second one is add unit test. So as soon as you click it, it will basically create a module test file under src test dw folder, and this file will basically test your function which is available in your module. Okay, so here you can basically test your function output, and this is similar to the munit. So for munit we test basically based on the flows, also flows, or endpoint as well, based on multiple use cases. So here as well we can basically test the functions, and we can test what kind of output this function is generating. So for now it's object because it is just printing the hello world message, but we can also uh, change it according to our use case. Okay, similar to this. For now I'll just make it as string and I'll keep it as string. Okay, so this is the unit test file which is created for us. Now there is third option, which is create integration mapping. Now what if we have multiple functions like this in this module file? Ideally it will have multiple functions in real time. Okay, and what if we have to test all of these functions based on some some customer use case? So in that case we can basically use the concept of the integration mapping. So click this integration mapping. It will ask you for some file name, and as soon as you click it, it will basically create a sample file for you, and here you can basically test multiple functions from your module file at once. Okay, so this is all about the integration mapping file. Okay, so these are the three options. Now coming to the mapping file, right? Let me just remove the two different mapping files which we have created for now. Okay, coming to the mapping file, this is basically your script, Datawave script, where you can use your the module functions. Now in this we have two different options. The first one is define sample data, so it's self-explanatory. So here we can create some sample payloads which are needed for this particular function to work. Okay, so currently it's not accepting any argument, it's empty, but in real time we might have some functions which will accept some complex parameters. So in that case here this payload will be useful in that case. Okay, now if you see, this payload file is created under this resources folder. Okay, along with that we have a run mapping option. So as soon as you click it, it will basically run your this mapping file to see if hello world this function is basically working or not. Okay, now apart from running, and what if you want to see the output at the same time, like we use the Datawave that playground for our live use case. So for that we have this feature available in VS Code for this plugin. So if you see on the right hand side, it is Datawave run preview. So as soon as you click it, it will basically run this particular function in the real time and provide you the output in the real time. So for now it's not running due to some reason. I need to restart my VS Code, but this is how we can basically preview our output, which we usually do in our day-to-day life in our Datawave the Lang website. Okay, so this is a very useful feature for now. Okay. Okay, coming to the mapping file again. All right, so all these options I've already explained. Apart from that, okay, so let's say if you want to debug any specific code, then you can just click here. So it will just add a breakpoint, and you can also remove it, edit it, disable it. And as soon as you run this mapping, right, it will basically run this mapping file, and it will provide you the details in this in the proper way. Okay, now what if we want to debug this mapping file? Okay, so for that you can go to run and you can debug it, or either you can run without debugging. So this is how this is also a useful feature where you can debug our actual Datawave code, which is at this point it's not available in our API development. This is also a useful feature For now, we don't have multiple things here, as this is just a sample project. But in the upcoming sessions, we will be going to start with some, quite a good functions, and there we will be able to, debug some functions, and we'll see how what kind of data, we are able to see during the debug process. Okay. All right, so this is all about the project structure, which is available for the Datawave library project. In our next session, we'll start with some good Datawave development of the modules and development of the functions, and based on some particular use case. Okay, so that's all for today's session, and hope you like it, and thank you.